Welcome to Mystic Musings with Toby Hewitt. I'm Toby Hewitt, and I'm your guide through time and space and all points in between. Mystic Musings will give you insight into who you are, why you are here, how to live an authentic life, and where you fit into the universe around you. Join me on this path of mystical exploration. Welcome to episode 3 of Mystic Musings with Toby Hewitt. This week we will explore how to recognize yourself as a spiritual being and how that knowledge can change your life. Now, the reason why I know that we are spirits in physical bodies is because when I give readings, I am able to receive verifiable information from spirits on the other side or on the other vibrational level. I'm able to get verifiable information. I'm able to give it to the person I am giving a reading to. And to me, this proves that there is more to all of this existence than what we're able to comprehend and apprehend through our physical senses. While we are in the physical body, there's a limitation on what we are able to perceive. So the fact that this is happening, that there is somebody that I am talking to without a body, is proof that there are spirits. And so that's our basis for this episode, is to help you to discern that you are also a spirit. Now, how do you do that if you've never even considered the idea that you have a spiritual component? Well, the first thing you can do is you can start meditating, and not even more than 3 to 5 minutes a day. Just settle yourself down and just calm yourself, focus on your breathing, and just feel the energy of the breath going in and out of your body. And start to realize, after you've done this for a few minutes, that this is also how your spirit is. Your spirit comes into your body when you are born, and it leaves your body when you transition to the other side. Now, how do you prove to yourself that you're a spirit? Well, last week's exercise should have given you a little bit of verification of this, because you should have been able to get some sign from a loved one that they are there. And I hope that was a good experience for you. And I hope they continue to communicate with you. And we're going to get into that a little bit later, how to get more information from them. How do you locate your spirit? You now know that you can communicate with a spirit on the outside. Where is your spirit inside of you? Well, your spirit is centered in the area of the solar plexus. And there is a slim silver cord that connects your spirit to your body while you are in the body. And then when you transition out, that cord snaps and you are released from this body. Now, that cord also helps you if you want to do something like astral project or do all sorts of other things. You are able to sort of separate from your body a little bit. But primarily when you incarnate, you are connected to the body in the area of the solar plexus. So if you put your hand on your solar plexus, which is at the base of your rib cage, if you put it there and concentrate, you'll be able to feel that there is a vibration going on in there. You are that vibration. That is your spirit. Your spirit is vibrating at a different rate than your body, and you'll be able to note that when you're doing that. Another technique is to go and look in a mirror and really look at your eyes and just really concentrate. And during that process, there will be I can't even explain really what it is, sort of a ripple effect of that there's something else going on in there. There's some being, there's you you as a being, as a spirit inside of you. So there are techniques, and we'll get into more of them as these episodes continue. But for right now, you have verified that there's a loved one on the other side that is a spirit that has given you information, and now you're locating the spirit within you. Now, one of the things that you could do is you could start to practice using your spirit senses rather than your physical senses. We have touch and smell and seeing and hearing. And the thing is that when we are communicating with other spirits, we're basically using the spirit senses of seeing and hearing, which is what we normally use when we're talking to other people. When we're sitting across the table from somebody, we're talking to them. We can hear their voice, and we can see them. And so those senses also have senses in the spirit sense. That was a lot of senses. So what we do when we try to communicate with other people on the other side is there is a slight shift. It's very, very subtle, but we concentrate not listening with our ears, for example, but listening with our spirit. And I know that it sounds a little bit off or strange, but once you start considering that as a possibility, it will become how you can communicate with people on the other side. It takes some practice. It also takes some faith, because for most people, it's hard when you're doing that. For me, I'm giving a reading, and I can say something like, oh, your father had this kind of a clock, and it is now sitting on your bureau, and this is what your father looked like and everything. And they're able to go, oh, yeah, that's true. If you're not giving a reading, how do you have to base it on faith that this is information that's coming to you. And you can ask for guidance. You can talk to your spirit guide and say, okay, let's have an adventure. Let's go find something out there that, we'll both decide we're going to look for, and you find it. For example, you're going to go and find a white feather. And so you go out and you go for just even a few steps, and there's a white feather. Well, there's a confirmation that you've had a communication with somebody on the other side. So that takes practice. The more that you listen to the podcast, to the episodes in this podcast, and maybe follow me on my website and read my blog, there'll be more exercises that'll come through. But the more you practice that you are a spirit, the more thought you give to that idea, the more reality will take hold of that idea, and you'll be able to feel more comfortable using your spirit senses to acknowledge that there are more beings around you than you could ever have imagined. We are never, ever alone. Yes, we do have privacy at certain points during the day, but we also have people around us. We are not alone. The other thing that's important to know, that once we are understanding that we are spirit, we can also acknowledge that we are living in the light. And what is that light? It's the light of spirit. It's the light of the creative energy, the creative spirit that created us in the energy of love. Light is a reflection of that energy, which is both our spirit and the energy that is around our spirit. Things are much simpler than they seem. Everything looks so separate, and putting everything together and maybe testing things in test tubes is not the only way of knowing in this universe. So when we look at the light, when we concentrate on light, we often light a white candle in order to focus on light. We live in the light, which means our spirit and our body go forth, and we bring that positive energy out into the world, and that comes back to us. They say that when we put something out, we get it back threefold. So when we put love and positive energy out, we get that back threefold. Now, obviously, the opposite is also true if we're putting out not so good light and not so good thoughts and everything. That comes back to us also threefold. So it's much better to concentrate on using our spirit to send out the light of love and peace and harmony, compassion, empathy. Get that out there. Spread it amongst the people around you. Let them feel it. Let them go further and get that light even further. And then we're able to get that back. And it's a really wonderful feeling when you can feel that coming back at us. And all of this takes place, as I mentioned in the last episode, on the Interdependent web, which everything is connected through. And it's connected through, it's just like a spider web with these very fine filaments between people and animals and ideas even, and nature, and things that are on the other side and other vibrational levels. So these are all connected. And when we connect to that interdependent web and we are part of that positive light energy, it creates a more positive light energy in our lives, and we're able to accomplish more. We're able to focus more on the positive things that we want to do with our lives and how we can improve our lives and follow the path that we set when we came into our bodies. Another thing you need to know, and I've said this over and over, but we're going to say it over and over again during this podcast show, is that you are a spirit and not a body. Your body is here only temporarily, but over time, forever and ever, you are a spirit. And so you need to understand that no matter what happens to your body, your primary being, your essence, is spirit. And the other thing to remember is that since that is the case, there really is no death. There really are no dead. There are people who have bodies, and there are people who do not have bodies. I like to say I don't discriminate between the two. If you don't have a body, I won't hold it against you. So once we learn that we are spirit, primarily, inhabiting a body for a short period of time on this plane, and that our actual home is on another vibrational level, that's the point when we can start releasing the fear that that both religion and philosophy and society tries to put on us. And a lot of fear that we feel is because other people are trying to control us. And if you don't like the fear that you are experiencing, then you have to do things our way, and then we'll take care of your fear. Or they like to keep us in the idea of fear. But you don't have to fear, because nothing can happen to you on this plane that is a permanent situation. Everything is always in a state of flux. Everything is always flowing. And this release of fear allows you to more closely embrace life and embrace your authentic life, and actualizing that authentic life, and being able to do the things that you dream of and that you imagine, as long as we're staying in the positive light, the energy of love, to be able to do that, release the fear and start embracing your life. As we go on with these episodes, we will be talking more and more about how we can go on a path of actualization, how we can recognize the things that are around us as not only something to enjoy, but as actually a part of who we are. Now, next week, at this point, I am planning on having you take your spirit for a walk. And you'll see what I mean when we get to that. But that episode 4 will be about, taking your spirit for a walk and seeing how things people interact with you when you're thinking in your spirit self and rather just your physical being. This week, I'd like to leave you with another exercise. Last week, you practiced receiving signs from your loved ones in the spirit realm. This week, using the ears of your heart, your spirit's ears, listen quietly for words or phrases that come toward you and not from you. Sometimes people are able to hear these sounds audibly, but for example, sometimes you think you hear your name and you look around and no one said your name, but somebody has said your name on the other side. Most likely it is a slight shifting of awareness and a faint impression of words that when you hear spirit speaking. This takes a lot of practice, and it takes widening your perspective on what you perceive as reality. It often helps to use a notebook to start a dialogue with spirit, a practice I teach in my book and class entitled Intuitive Writing. This method helps to ground the communication in the physical plane while reaching out to those on the spirit plane. If you are writing things down, they take on a concreteness that just thinking can't give you. If you would like more information about this ability and how to get started, please check out my book, Intuitive Writing, on Amazon.com. And I wish you a wonderful week, and I will talk to you again next week on episode 4.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Mystic Musings. Please join me every week to continue our exploration of all things mystical that can help you have a more practical and magical life. Please visit my website, tobyhewitt.com, for more information and to read my blog postings. And join me also at pathwaystomindfulness.org to learn how you can schedule a presentation. I'm available for mindfulness training, demonstrations of psychic abilities, and individual readings. I also have a number of books on mystical topics on Amazon.com. I look forward to hearing from you and answering your questions. Please contact me through tobyhewitt.com.